ready? I'm ready? Yep, yep, absolutely.
All right, we'll get started. All right, the time is 6 o'clock. I'm calling to order a regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Sunset Valley, Texas for Tuesday, October 17th, 2023. Just as a note, Council, we will have a time certain item at 7 p.m. for agenda item number 14. So if we haven't gotten through the other items before then, we'll stop. And of course, we'll, if we get early, then we may bring up the items that are later. And we also have an executive session tonight where we won't take action, but we can take action after meeting an executive session. And with that, we'll open it up for public comments. There is one comment that I think is in OpenGov, if you had a chance to read that. If not, it's available there as we're going through the agenda items. It is related to something we'll cover in staff reports with the city administrator giving the staff report for public safety this month because Chief Carter's out at a conference. So with that, let's go to public comments. For anybody who wishes to speak, please step up to the podium and state your name and address and your statement.
Melissa Gonzalez, 26 Reese. I wanted to encourage anybody who hasn't gone at the Home Depot trail on the Violet Crown to go do that right now. It's beautiful. I'm also excited to consider if we were to do QR codes, because when we just went about 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. We saw 13 people. And there was a dog on leash, and no, three or four dogs on leashes, 3 kids, mixed in that bunch, and there's some energy, and it's still a bridge to nowhere. And the people, if you walk it all the way, you just go this little cul-de-sac on the other side of Mopac. So when it really goes there, I think I have a lot of hope for, the way that the flow will be for Sunset Valley. But I would really encourage us to get into getting a QR code, because one of the people, like the first people we saw, had a Whataburger thing in their hand. Like they'd gone and they walked all the way over to the Whataburger, which is difficult. And I think it'd be a really great thing for us to put a QR code with a map of our restaurants, and then we could later go to shopping. But, they were hungry and they went to eat, and it's just a half-mile thing. I mean, people start really going and they go further, we're going to have a lot more opportunities. So anyway, I was excited, and it is beautiful. The flowers are amazing there right now. It was very well landscaped, and I really encourage people to go check it out. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak can step up to the podium at this time. All right, we'll move on to staff reports, beginning with the administration report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll highlight a few things on the administration report. First thing I wanted to discuss is the Reimagine Brody project is underway. We're very excited. We had a really good kickoff meeting with the team, with staff, mayor, 2 council members, and our consultants, including MEND Collaborative, city engineers, and then Arup, who's the lighting consultant. And then staff is having bi-weekly meetings with MEND and the engineers. We are in phase 1 and 2 of this fiscal year 24 project, which phases 1 and 2 MEND has called the Understand and the Engage phase. And how we're planning to engage is we're opening a survey that begins tomorrow, and it will be open for 3 weeks. And this is really, we'll send it out to residents, we'll send eye contact notices. I believe there may be some mail outs, but mostly eye contact, newsletter. It will be featured on the website, social media, but we'll also be putting yard signs up all the way over at Home Depot by the Violet Crown Trail, along Brody. We've ordered some A-frame signs and some larger signs that will have QR codes, and we'll be placing them in the 3 shopping centers. We want to get as many people engaged and filling out this survey as possible. This includes residents, it includes visitors to the city, shoppers, people that work at the shopping center. We want to engage with as many people to get the initial feedback as possible. Also on November 1st, which is a Wednesday night, there will be a night walk that will start at Doc's backyard, I believe at 6:30. And so MEND will be giving a brief presentation. There will be some appetizers. And then for anyone that's interested, we will walk down Brody Lane. So the sun will have already set. It will be dark, just to kind of see what the conditions are like for a pedestrian walking down Brody Lane. And we'll walk all the way down to Nomadic, so from one end of the city to the other. And then at Nomadic, Arup, who's the lighting consultant, they will give their presentation there, kind of on existing conditions, and I think on some of their ideas that they may have to improve lighting on Brody. And then what city staff will do is ferry folks back, so that for all the people that do walk down, they don't have to walk all the way back. So we'll have city vehicles there to ferry people back. So that is Wednesday, November 1st. And then there will be we're calling it a joint committee summit, I believe, at the end of November on Wednesday, November 29th. And that will be here at City Hall. And we're really inviting any, it's open to all. We'll send it to all committee members, but we really want, obviously P&E, CED, Arts Commission, Public Works, but really any committee member is welcome to come, and that will be, MEND will be leading that meeting to get feedback. Any questions on Reimagine Brody? Ms. Savage?
You said when you walk, we're gonna walk from Docks to Pneumatic.
Microphone, Councilman.
You said when we walk, we're gonna walk from Docks to Nomadic,
Nomadic, yeah, that
And
is
where are
is
they gonna
the
be
old barn location.
the old barn?
Yeah.
Got it.
So, yeah.
Got it,
So
okay.
that'll take us all the way down the commercial corridor,
We're
past the
gonna go up,
meadows. And
back, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on, just some upcoming events just to be aware of. We've already sent one eye contact notice, but the Daisy Dash race is this weekend. There are some yard signs out that were approved, just letting folks know that there will be traffic impacts. That is this Sunday morning, 6 a.m. to noon. Another eye contact is scheduled to go out Friday, I believe. And then one other event I wanted to highlight is earlier this year, council approved the Arts Commission participating in the Austin Studio Tour. And so Sunset Valley, I guess for a couple of years, has had one location, but that has been at a private residence on Pillow. And this year, what the Arts Commission wanted to do was kind of collaborate with several Sunset Valley artists, and so City Hall will actually be a spot along the tour. So that's the first and second weekends in November. So that is November 4th and 5th, and then, excuse me, 11th and 12th. And what are those times, council member, remind me?
Well, the City Hall will be 12 to 6,
12th.
and the other location at the end of Pillow, Cat Sculpture Garden, will be 10 to dusk.
That's right. And how many, just
We have
how
8
many
artists
Eight
here
artists.
and 5 artists at the other location, so we'll have 2 stops. Yeah, all local artists,
Yeah.
many residents,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that is an exciting addition. And, oh yes, and we also wanted to talk about the council schedule for the next 2 months. So we will not have a regular meeting on Election Day because Travis County uses this as a polling place. There is no City of Sunset Valley election, but nonetheless, this will still be used as a polling place. So we will be meeting on November 14th. That will be the meeting, where we thank Councilmember Reeds and then seat the new council, and very few items on that agenda, I believe. There's Mayor Pro Tem and committee liaison assignments, so that'll be a short agenda. We wanted to see if council members had an availability on November 28th, that's the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, for a work session. This would not be a regular meeting, this would be a follow-up to our utility rate discussion. And the Texas Rural Water Association is available to be there at that work session to present and have a discussion with us. So, is everyone available?
So far, yes.
And our newest council member has indicated he's available. And so that will be, we plan on that just being a work session, so not.
And it'd be a regular 6 o'clock start,
Correct.
just because we don't need to start early if we're not having a council meeting that night, so.
6 o'clock, okay.
And then we are planning on having a regular meeting December 19th. That will be the one regular meeting in December. But we also wanted to see, last year we did our council retreat the first week of December. We wanted to do the same. And we wanted to see council's availability for a retreat that first week of December. So we would meet Tuesday, December 6th. So that is a possible date. But again, we're planning on having our retreat during the day. We've also reached out to the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center, and it's a pretty reasonable price for using their library, and they set everything up. We would go 8 to 3, I believe. We just need to wrap up by 3, which is plenty of time. So
What was the date?
December 6th.
Well, that's that first week. Last year, I think we typically have it like on a Thursday or Friday towards the end of the week, just because it's easier and also schedule. I think last we could do it any day of the
We
week.
could do it any day of the week that you all are available, but during the day.
My preference is for that Friday, just based on my work schedule, but if it's,
Friday? Okay. Last time we checked, the center was available that whole week, so I can check again. So the Friday?
well,
8 a.m. to 3
and depending on feedback, I think, yeah.
Can't do that Friday.
Can't do that Friday?
Okay.
Okay.
So maybe what we can do, Matt, is do a follow-up email and get post-original dates and,
And I'll
yeah.
include, that Friday won't work. So basically what I'll do is do a poll to see what day of the week, that first week of December, it'll be 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. would
Yeah.
work for council.
Okay,
If we can't find a day, we'll just have to
yeah. And,
try another week.
yeah, and unlike what we're considering, other off-site locations, this I think was $800.
$800.
So very reasonable, for catering and setup and use. And it's nice to get a different environment, I think, this year. So that would be the proposed location, unless anybody has concerns about being able to get there or, anything like that. So
Mayor,
we've done the retreat there before. I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. This is the same location that we had. I think Rudy, you and I were part of that council. So.
Mayor, in that email, do you want me to also ask if they would prefer, well, I guess we discussed if we're meeting at the Wildflower Center, we want it just to be council and staff.
Right, we're going to have to schedule the joint meeting at a separate one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's all I have.
Thank you. I did have a couple of follow-ups myself, just to call out. So I think everybody's hopefully aware that there's a volunteer appreciation event this Friday for members of the community that have committed time to committees, or it's open to council members too. So that's at Total Wine, I think, and there should be.
It's a Total Wine, 5 to 7, and if you weren't able to make the event, or just because I believe RSVP is closed, we got everyone a gift, and that will be delivered to the volunteers that couldn't.
But it's certainly intended to thank our volunteers for all the hard work they put in, and I'm glad that staff was able to do something fun this year, like they did last year. I mean, I think the Painting with a Twist is also fun. As a note, there's a few other events, the Truck or Treat I wanted to mention, because that's a upcoming event that is for families and anybody who wants candy to go to, that Public Works is hosting on October 31st,
Yeah, so it'll be
Halloween.
Halloween in the parking lot of Kohl's.
Yes.
And so it'll be a fun time for people to come out. They can, kids love to climb and see the big trucks and heavy equipment and stuff. They get a chance to kind of look at that. Also, fire should be here. The police department's joining us. So we should have a pretty good group. And the stores are participating, so kids can go from store to store and trick or treat as well.
Another thing I wanted to know is that WellMed opened. Everybody hopefully got eye contact with that after many years or many months, I guess, of planning. But there'll be more information being sent out in the newsletter. There are a lot of benefits that they are offering to Sunset Valley, but the members of the community. So hopefully that's something that members of the community can take advantage of, especially they seem very eager to engage with us, and I'm happy that they want to be part of our community. And just as a note on Daisy Dash, the other thing I was going to mention is that Danielle told me on Friday that there's still free registrations available for kids. I believe there's still spots available for that. So if we have any members of the community that would like to do the Daisy Dash for the kids 1 mile, I believe that we still have, they gave some registrations to the city this year, including some adult membership or adult registrations, but also 10, I think, child registrations. So if anybody has somebody that they know with kids who want to participate, that's contacting the city, I think is a way to still get those. Hopefully they're going to be interested in that. So, but Council, any other questions for City Administrator? We'll start with Councilmember Mendicus and then Councilmember Johnson, or Mayor President Johnson.
2 things. I thought the Total Wine thing started at 5. It starts at 6?
No, it starts, 5 to 7.
5 to 7,
Yep.
okay. And then the other question I had on the truck or treat, Carolyn, do we still need volunteers to help with that?
Yeah, we would love to have volunteers to pass out candy and hand, we have some games the kids can play too, some like ring toss, beanbag toss type games. So we'd love to have some help with those things.
So can we have Danielle put a volunteer sign up like she's done for other events so people can pick a slot and
Yes,
sign up?
definitely.
That'd be great.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Just so you,
Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
You
go.
Mayor Pro Tem and then Councilmember Rosigan.
The Arbor Day event, it's moved to the Manley Tract?
Yes.
Why weren't, I think we were thinking originally doing the Galt property?
I'm sorry, what?
Weren't we originally thinking the Galt property?
No, we weren't, no, we didn't think about doing that on the golf property. We're doing it on the Manly track right now.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Councilmember Rosigan.
really can't count on any Meadows to volunteer for that night because we have our own events going on.
Okay.
So, okay.
Any other questions on the administration report? All right, thank you. We'll move to Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just want to talk about a few things here. I know the weather's been beautiful lately, but we haven't really had a lot of rain, so we are still under watering restrictions. So make sure we're still getting that message out there to conserve water. We will be putting in a little, in the water bills that go out this month, there will be a little insert that comes up and it'll take it's on the rebates. All the rebates have been updated on the website, so that'll take them to the website. So they'll have a QR code that'll take them directly and they can kind of click through the rebates on that website there. We have in the Public Works report, we talked a little bit about, we found a location that we're working on for pickleball, which we're looking at using the dam behind City Hall as a temporary location for pickleball. Probably it's not going to take a whole lot to change that, and because of the high walls and berms around it, it attenuates the noise quite a bit. So that was a really great idea. Dakota had that idea there, so we're very excited to kind of keep pursuing that possibility. We're going to be working on some of the storage yard improvements with the fencing. Large sections of it will probably be privacy fencing just to keep the visual buffer around it, especially on the Lone Oak side, just to kind of improve that kind of look over there. We're probably going to be building most of that in-house just because it'll be a good cost savings over the winter to do that in late fall. I think there was a question I think somebody had regarding the CIP, so we're getting ready to do the boring, I believe this weekend, correct? Yeah, we're going to be doing it this weekend over the Holiday. And then a question rose, I think, on why we were boring, and it's because we have big trees. We're trying to avoid open trench anywhere near those trees, so we're just going to do a simple, short 70 feet section of bore, so it's pretty small. So that will be happening, and we wanted to also avoid ACL weekends and things like that at the Holiday Inn. Those are the main items on the Public Works report, since we did the events and everything in one go.
Councilmember Rosengren.
And off stuff. What type of gates are going to be used at Public Works?
So we're going to probably reuse some of the floodgates over here at the entries and exit to start with. And then there will be like more like chain link style gates in some areas that just make better sense.
So pleased. So
We'll get
pleased.
some of them used. Actually, I got a couple places I think we could put them out and where we have like chain gates in like the nature area and stuff. We may be able to reuse them.
Use what we have.
Yeah.
Excellent. And who came up with the idea of using the dam as a possible
So when we had the
pickleball court?
council meeting in September, Dakota was like, hey, this is this. And we checked and said, is there any kind of prohibition against us like painting lines on it? And they were like, no. And so we went out there, Councilmember Johnson and one of the residents and I went out there and kind of played around, seeing how loud it was, and it attenuated the sound really well. And so one of the benefits of that was there's also trees nearby, so you got some shade at least on the back on that side. So so Dakota came up with that and measured it out. So
Thank you so much for using what we already have. Also, I didn't realize how close it is to my backyard and then my two neighbors, and you won't have an issue with me regarding pickleball. No problem.
And we met with one of your neighbors, the one who's like directly there, and they seem to be good.
Yeah.
They send their kids out there to play too. So
So, great idea. Thank you.
Councilmember Reitz.
I just want to say that's outstanding thinking. That was good, open-minded thinking, and great job.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I think her name was Holly. Is your neighbor named Holly? Yeah. And she came out, and it was only because she saw us walking around. It wasn't like, what's this racket? It was, but I also contacted 4 or 5 different pickleball organizations. Only one got back to me, and she was like, yeah, not interested. So I don't know. Hopefully someone, but every resident in Sunset Valley was super interested. So we might end up just having like our own private little space there, which is, great. But yeah, I was asking them mostly just for like, would this be a draw? And I think they were thinking it's too far back into the woods, but I think it's going to be, yeah, we're tougher. All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Public Works? I did have one question, Carolyn. I saw in the report the water quality pond, Lovegrass Pond irrigation repair, but there's a rock wall. Which pond is that again? Like, which is that the one at the entrance to? Okay, so that's not the one that's where the trail construction is going on right now at the west side or the east side, I guess.
Right, yeah, it's gonna, yeah, that's the yellowtail pond over there that's got the trail work happening, and the just kind of pond stabilization. So the Lovegrass Pond, we're waiting to hear back. That pond has like we were looking at some options. It's got this rock wall around the tree kind of thing that needs to be replaced. It's a source of leakage. And so we were thinking, oh, well, if we could square it off, that would be so much easier, but there's not a lot of space in that pond, so we're gonna have to kind of keep with the circular shape. So we're still going back and forth with the contractor on that, on how we can do that.
All right. Thank you, Carolyn. Moving on to public safety.
Mayor and council, the chief and Chief Carter and Lieutenant Early are actually in San Diego for I believe it's a National Police Chiefs Organization conference, so they're out there. And I just wanted to highlight one thing. I met with spoke with Chief about this issue. There had been some emails. I believe, council, you were copied on some of those emails about some solicitors that were in some of the streets. I believe it was 2 weekends ago. So Sunset Valley, again, as Chief wrote in his report, and as the resident commented online, we cannot legally prohibit door-to-door sales. However, many years ago, the city did adopt an ordinance that set up a process for solicitation registration, and that solicitors must obtain a permit, and that's under Chapter 111 of our Code of Ordinances. So the best thing to tell residents is just if there is a solicitor, you can ask them, or the best thing is probably just to call the police, inform them, and then the police can come out and see if they are registered. It's very rare that we have solicitors that do come and register, right? That kind of, it typically they pack up and go away when they realize they have to, apply for a permit. So that's the best thing you can do is just call PD and let them know that there's a solicitor in the neighborhood, and then PD will come out and enforce Chapter 111 and either, tell them to go obtain registration, or if they persist, then issue them a citation. So.
The Meadows has a sign. It's kind of faded, but it does has a sign in the entrance. Is that something that we can do in other areas?
They're not enforceable.
Yeah, I realize that, but maybe it's a deterrent,
Right. I mean, and then, I know there are residents that have it on their property too, but
Yeah,
the chief says
yeah.
we can't really enforce it.
Right,
But,
right.
But yeah, I mean, you can.
Yeah.
But as a city, though, we can't, that was probably put up by the HOA, right? And the city can't put those signs up.
Yeah, and it also, this is specifically about commercial solicitation. There are protected, free speech or government, basically a political survey or religious, those things cannot, those are protected, so they cannot be, they don't fall under the ordinance.
Correct,
right?
yeah, those do not fall under Chapter 111 because they are exactly protected by free speech. So if they're not asking for donations, but they're just, doing political work or other nonprofit related work, then it doesn't fall under Chapter 111.
Councilmember Young and then Mayor Pro Tem.
Actually, I had a question to go back to Public Works. Sorry, you didn't see
Sure,
me
go
when I
ahead.
raised my hand. There's a note here about staff is planning to install cameras in the storage yard. When is that going to happen?
So we're starting to get the quotes and getting quotes for those cameras in the storage yard. So hopefully everything kind of will happen with the fence and the cameras around the same time. So yeah, so hopefully in the next 2 months is where we're trying to get all of that done.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
So the groups that are exempt from 111 for the solicitation is just commercial? Or do religious people or canvassers or whatever else, do they also have to get a permit?
I'm sorry, say that one more time. So no, commercial, yeah, so if they are soliciting like goods, services, those are required to come and register if they want to solicit.
I immediately thought of kind of like high school fundraisers. What do they fall under?
Well, let's see. Organizations, individuals. So it says individuals or organizations. These are exceptions, so they're exempt. Individuals or organizations making solicitations for religious or nonprofit charitable endeavors that do not include any. So I guess technically,
I mean,
yes, they do. They are supposed. We've actually had.
Let me state that I don't mind the schools coming by. That's my kind
We've
of
actually had a few come by a few years ago that they wanted to sell,
mulch, and I was just like, well, it's gonna be a hard sell in this town.
cookies. They're supposed to.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think residents are going to call about that.
Oh, I don't know about that, man.
You never know.
So, okay, and then the other one was a resident had reached out about dangerous crossing at Pillow / Master Sergeant Bob Horgan, and now this morning there was a crossing guard there, which I was kind of like taking that idea to Chief and Joe Coyson. It's like, well, what can we do there? And then AISD moved faster. Do we know by chance if that resident also contacted AISD?
I don't believe they did, no.
Okay.
So,
So do we know, like, it's awesome that they placed a crossing guard there. It's only in the mornings. We're wondering if they could also do it afterwards. So, I mean, I would ask Chief just to, yeah, he said, I texted him, he said that they didn't contact AISD police.
AISD did. Okay.
Yeah, so it just
I
somehow.
will confirm, though, whether that resident reached
Okay.
out to the ISD.
That was it, thank you.
Any other questions for public safety? I also just wanted to note my appreciation for the police department, but also all the staff who supported National Night Out, which happened between our last council meetings. It was a fun event. Certainly, it was good to see members of the community getting to enjoy the nice weather we had and the nice music. It was really, really great. But also just all the staff support that went into that. So really appreciate staff's time and help doing that. All right. Council, we are agenda item number 4, which is agenda items for approval on consent. Councilmember Rosengart?
I move to approve on consent agenda item number 5 with corrections, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9 with corrections, number 10, number 11, number 12, and number 13.
All right, so the motion is to approve on consent item 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Does anybody want to pull one of those items? And just to specify, so the with corrections on item number 9, I know I sent some corrections into, Carolyn, is that the same potential corrections? Okay. You've got all those corrections, Carolyn? Okay. The rate table, I think, was the one that I saw that had some incorrect rebate information for
That's
an
correct.
unrelated one, yeah.
There weren't dollar signs, there were numbers, and you didn't know what it was being referred to.
Yeah.
So yes.
Okay. All right, is there a second for that motion?
Second.
All those in favor of approving on consent items number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All right, we approved on consent. Item number 5, the minutes from the September 19th, 2023 regular meeting. Item number 6, approval of 2 temporary special use permits for the Home Depot to operate their annual Christmas tree tent sale at 1200 Home Depot Boulevard. Item number 7, appointment of Mickey Powers to the Community Engagement, or Community and Economic Development Committee, and consider and approval of allowing the Budget and Finance Committee to meet with 4 members with a quorum of 3 until a 5th regular member can be appointed. Item number 8, approval of proclamation declaring Wednesday, November 15th, 2023 as Arbor Day in the city of Sunset Valley. And hold on to that one because I'll be reading it. Item number 9, approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 42.02 to include a residential native plant rebate program as recommended by the Planning and Environmental Committee. Item number 10, approval of an ordinance amending Chapter with corrections on item number 9 and with corrections on item number 5. Item number 10, approval on an ordinance amending Chapter 30.01 of the Code of Ordinances, canceling the 3rd Tuesday regular meeting of June, the 1st Tuesday regular meeting of July, and any council meeting to be held on Election Day. Item number 11, approval of a resolution authorizing an interlocal agreement between the City of Sunset Valley and the Interlocal Purchasing System, TIPS, a purchasing cooperative, and approval of a master services agreement with GovBuilt for permitting software. Item number 12, approval of an interlocal agreement for joint and cooperative purchasing between the City of Sunset Valley and City of Liberty Hill, and authorization of a piggyback contract for Liberty Hill with Univista for information technology, IT support services. And item number 13, a purchase of a 2023 Chevrolet Silverado pickup from Silsby Ford out of repair and replacement funds for the Public Works Department. So I will go ahead and read the proclamation because I enjoy doing that every year. And let me get to it real fast. So we passed the proclamation by the mayor and the city council of the city of Sunset Valley, Texas, declaring November 15th, 2023 as Sunset Valley Arbor Day, in which citizens are encouraged to plant trees. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate air temperature, reduce air pollution, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the mayor and the city council of the city of Sunset Valley, Texas, that Wednesday, November 15th is recognized and celebrated as Arbor Day in the city of Sunset Valley, and citizens are urged to plant trees and promote the well-being of this and future generations. So thanks, council, for passing all of those as a bulk. There's a lot of things to read out. And I also appreciate the move to adjust the meeting schedules. I think we've typically handled that in an ad hoc fashion, but this allows council members in the future to plan for that period of time when they can take a break. You know, hopefully that can coincide when we have a natural break in our council meetings as well. So I'm glad that we're doing that. Councilmember Rosengard.
I wanted to add before Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving, before Christmas, after Christmas.
Yes. We can always cancel meetings. All right. So council, since we have some time before our time certain meeting, or our time certain item, I would like to, we can't handle 15 until we approve 14 or consider approving 14. So let's move to item number 16, which is presentation, discussion, and possible action on a variance request from Chair King from section 150.729A of the Land Development Code to allow an additional sign in the south wall of the building facing the main parking area of the Market Fair Shopping Center. And staff, do you want to begin with an overview of this item?
Sure, Mayor. Council Jerry Rustovan, Development Services Manager. The Chair King location, as y'all know, is a standalone building over here in the Market Fair Shopping Center. They have an existing sign facing Highway 290, an existing sign over the front entrance of the store. This request for variance is to put a third sign facing the main parking area for the shopping center. There was already a sign there when the location was a Pier 1 Imports. You can still see, if you look today on the facade, you can kind of see where that sign was. I tried taking a picture of it to put in your backup, but it's just too faint. It did not come out on the cell phone photo, but it's definitely there. So I think it's a rather unique situation. The city code allows 2 signs per business on a standalone building. But in this particular situation, I think that it would certainly be beneficial to the to the business, and I think therefore beneficial to the city for people who are looking for that location, but are in the main shopping area, but don't know that that's the location they're looking for. Staff does support the variance, and then the sign will comply with the city's sign regulations, with the exception of it being a third sign. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. And Matt, did you say you could bring up the findings since they weren't part of the backups, just so we have those for consideration?
So I misspoke. There are 5 criteria for approval for a variance.
Okay.
So hopefully everyone can see those.
Could you summarize the 5, since we haven't had the chance to read them?
The first is dealing with there are special circumstances or condition applying to the land, buildings, or other matters on adjacent lots, right of way, which would substantially restrict the effectiveness of the sign in question. Basically, that special circumstances exist, which their argument is just where that front is
It's unique.
facing the.
It's
yes,
unique.
Correct. And then the special circumstances were not created by the applicant. The applicant is a tenant that moved into that space. Granting of the variance will be in general harmony with the purposes of the chapter, and this is almost in every one of our variances, and will not be materially detrimental to the persons residing or working with in the vicinity. It's in a shopping center. It's not located to any near any residence. The variance applied for does not depart from the provisions of this chapter any more than is required to identify the applicant's business or use and such other factors and criteria that council deems applicable to the proposed variance.
Councilmember Medicus?
I'd like to move to approve the variance request from Chair King from section 150.729A1 of the Land Development Code to allow an additional sign on the south wall of the building facing the main parking area of Market Fair Shopping Center.
Is there a second for that?
I will second.
Okay, that opens up for discussion.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem, did you have a question?
Sorry.
Don't we usually mention with findings? Or
But,
something?
I was just going to
I
say
was
that.
just like, where does that
With
go?
the five findings.
with the
But where
five
does that
findings.
go? That's the only
It's
reason.
it's in the motion.
It's the motion, yeah, sorry.
But where in the motion would you normally say that?
You could
At
just
the
say,
end.
With the
At
whole
the end,
motion.
okay.
Yeah.
Council, you can say it meets A through E under 150.735.
Okay.
Oh, I'm supposed to say something else?
I'm just saying that that's what.
What
I
he
think
said.
Your motion includes meeting conditions A through E and 150.735.
That.
Thank you, Jerry. Any other questions for staff on this or further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All right, motion passes. So council, we have about 22 minutes before our time certain agenda item, which is the last actionable agenda item. I would like to propose that we go into executive session for the next 20 minutes. We can make progress in potentially, depending on how the conversation goes, maybe I'll even conclude that agenda item. But regardless, we will reconvene into open session at 7 o'clock for returning to the time certain one. Mayor Pro Tem?
Sure. I move we convene into the executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074 for the deliberation of personnel matters on the annual performance evaluation of the city administrator and possible contractual amendments.
Is there a second? Second. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're going to move into executive session at 6:39, and we'll reconvene no later than 7 p.m.
Duncan, are we ready?
Okay. Councilor, are you ready? Okay. All right, it is 7:01. We're resuming in open session for our time certain item, which is agenda item number 14, presentation, discussion, and possible action on an ordinance authorizing an assessment for the cost of a water line extension project on Brody Lane South from Oakdale Drive to the benefited properties pursuant to Title 13, Subtitle A, Section 552, Subchapter D of the Texas Local Government Code. And staff, do you want to give us an overview of this item?
Mayor Council Jerry Rustover, Development Services Manager. This is the culmination of an item of a issue that we've been discussing over, I don't know, maybe the past 5 or 6, maybe 7 meetings, to get water to the Botanical Garden Eatery and Cafe project. We've been discussing how to do that because, as y'all know, the city of Austin would not allow us to tap into the main going down Brody Lane, so the water will have to come from Oakdale. The council has directed us to try to find basically alternative funding mechanisms for it. We've settled on this one section of the state law as recommended by our attorney. This would take the dollar amount of the extension, which we believe to be about $200,000, but we're not sure. Pay to have it, the city would use the CIP, have it extended across one property that's right at the corner of Oakdale and Brody that does not need the water. It would then traverse the city-owned property and finally end at the city limit line at the Botanical Garden property. The assessment would levy basically a 50-50 split between the city and the property owner of the future Botanical Garden Cafe. And the owner of that tract would have 5 years to pay their portion back to the city. It would have a 7% interest rate. The city would place a lien on the property to be sure that the city received its money back. Right now, I think the estimate, Carolyn, I just heard, said that the project would probably start in February. Would be tied to the project across the street on Countrywide Lane. And so this is basically the ordinance that matches the resolution that the city council passed at its last meeting that actually creates the assessment that the city can levy. So with that, we're having questions. We have, of course, Carolyn here and the city attorney's office here as well.
Council members, any questions? Mayor Pro Tem?
So we have an estimate here, and the lien would be for a nominal amount, right?
The lien, well,
Yep.
I think ideally the lien would be for a dollar amount. In this case, we do not know the dollar amount,
Right.
but we know it's going to be a 50-50 split. And so if we were to do the lien today, we would just say 50% of the project value cost of the project.
In reality, how will that bear out? Like,
So
I don't think we've
once
ever-
we actually bid the project, right? So the project will be bid, I believe, at the end of the year. Carolyn? Yeah. So the project will be bid at the end of the year. Then we'll know the amount. And speaking with the city attorney, then we would need to, once we have that official dollar amount, we would need to come back and amend this ordinance, amending the assessment plan, because the assessment plan has the number that's based on the estimate, right? And so we would amend that assessment plan and then file the lien on the property.
and then we've just seen so many things like go up. We've had some where it ended up being cheaper. Doesn't happen a lot, but it happens. And then
Right.
what do we do? What do we do then? You know what I mean? So the project gets done, and it's like, well, it ran over $10,000 or it was under $10,000.
So I believe once the lien is filed, that is what the loan amount would be. So it would
think
be,
so.
it would be once that.
I think,
mean,
Matt,
unless they
we
amended
could
it, yeah.
adjust it
Yeah.
as well. I mean, you know, it's a one-way lien. It
It-
doesn't require any grant.
And it's less about the, well, it's partly about the lien, but it's also about like the, you know, they're paying half, so they shouldn't overpay, but they shouldn't underpay for that half as well. So, and it's a little bit easier, I think, working with the developers to just say like, oh, you owe this much. It's like, okay, cool. But
And they have indicated they have indicated that they want to pay
Yeah.
their half.
I guess
As soon as the work is done.
Maybe I'm getting
That-
distracted by the
But we
the
still
lien
have
amount.
to, we
It's-
still have to go through this process and,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
It was just more of a question of.
How confident are you in your estimate? And where did that come from, I guess?
So the estimate was from, so the two estimates that the developers received were very, very high. Even our own engineers said that
Oh,
it's
yeah.
very, very high. And so then the third estimate came in way lower, which our engineers, our professionals said that is much more reasonable.
Okay.
We did have to add some things that weren't included in that estimate. I think the estimate was like 147,000, and so we used some numbers that were provided by other estimates for things like fencing and sidewalk repair. So that's how we came up with the 196,000. However, I mean, we're hoping we get a good deal because we're combining it with another project, right? The city has seen that in the past versus when you just have one, kind of small project. I mean, I believe the developers went to Smith, who's doing our big project right now, and they looked at the scope of just this water line, and they were like, yeah, we wouldn't do that job because it's just so small to mobilize for something that small. So we're hoping we get a good price, combining it with the Country White Lane water line and turnaround, so.
Good. And y'all are comfortable with where we're at with this?
So when the two bids that we had from RGC, everyone, our engineers, your engineers thought it was high. Is this on? Is it working? I have a green light. Green. Yeah, okay, green's good. And then Carolyn recommended someone that y'all had used elsewhere in the city. I think it was the water line extension that was 700 feet for another project. So I reached out to them, and yeah, here it is, Matt has it. And they got back to us, and they came up with that 147, 150 number, but it excluded concrete work. So I think what we did is we took the concrete number from the GCs that we had previously reached out to and used that and added it to it. I'm hopeful that that concrete number was also highly inflated, so I'm hoping that even that 200 number, I think that's a safe estimate. It's hopefully even less than that. I mean, it was a really, really positive thing to have this number come so much lower than where we were at. Yeah, this is a huge win for us, like the direction this has moved from where we started. And to what they were saying, our lender wants us to pay for it as soon as it happens, so we're prepared to do that. We don't want to pay this over 5 years and have a lien on the property, so.
Other questions, council? And just as another point, so the lien is against the property, so the current property owners, I believe staff has reached out to them to get
Yes,
feedback.
we have spoken to them on the phone. We've also mailed them a letter, the same notice that's on the board outside, and that was posted in the newspaper 3 times, informing them of the assessment. They're aware of it, and they said that they've been in discussions with the potential future buyers, so everyone understands it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to point, there was one, so the ordinance, right, outlines that there will be an assessment plan, and then the city attorney suggested an amendment to the assessment plan. I'm just going to bring that up. Basically saying that there's one amortization schedule, right, because it's the same for both properties. Right now, nothing will be assessed against the city's property because it's the city-owned property. If the city were ever to sell the property, the buyer could be also responsible. The lien could be filed for the water line. So we just made a note that, hang on, it's on section 5, that the attached schedule applies to both properties. However, right now we're not applying the lien to the city-owned property because there's no need to.
Mayor Pro Tem?
The little, what would you call it? Not schematic, but just the map of like where the line's going to go. All the trees on the Galt property have the critical root zone marked, and none of the trees on the other side do. So these were like photoshopped together or whatever, I guess. That
So you're
18
talking about-
my main question is that 1825, it looks like the water line is out of the critical root zone. That's a really big tree. Yeah. What kind of tree is 1825? You don't have to know.
I don't know offhand.
That's a big tree.
It's an oak, though.
Yeah.
I don't know which kind of oak.
Yeah, it looks like it's, past 50%, but. Okay, cool.
Further questions? Councilor Moritz?
Now, I move that we approve the resolution of the proposed water line extension project and assessment on the Brody Lane south from Oakdale Drive with the supporting materials.
And just to clarify, an ordinance, instead of a resolution, so this
It's
is.
an ordinance.
You're wrong on the cover page, sorry.
Yep.
Okay. Is there a second for that motion? Mayor Pro Tem?
I'll second.
It opens it up for further discussion. Any members of the public wish to speak to this item? We'll open up for that. Okay. All those in favor of approving an ordinance authorizing assessment for the property, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All right, it's approved. Thank you, staff.
job.
And
All right.
I can't wait.
Have a good evening.
And council, we have our agenda item which is related to this, which is an amendment. Agenda item 15, presentation, discussion, and possible action for approval on amendment to task order 17 for the countrywide water line and turnaround on Brody Lane, south from Oakdale Drive, and the water line extension projects. So this one can't be passed unless we pass the previous one. Staff, do you want to give just a quick summary of what's in this amendment?
So this amendment includes a little bit of work on the Country Lane regarding landscaping and the gabion wall that we will be doing to help create that buffer for the resident at the end of Country Lane. But the majority of it is to incorporate the botanical garden and eatery, the water line plans into the plan set and get those part of the bid documents and for the Brody Lane water line. Because Meagle Engineering is an engineer of record on that, she would need to be involved as a sub-consultant in case any questions arise from the project and through the construction part of that project. It also includes the funds for Terracon to do the additional testing and all of that comes along with construction projects. So that's what this task order represents.
Any questions for staff on this item? Councilor Reitz?
I move that we approve the amendment to task order number 17 for the Countrywide Lane water line and turnaround at Brody Lane south from Oakdale Drive water line extension projects.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion now that we have a motion? Mayor Pro Tem?
It's not going to change much, but how much of this is the turnaround?
So on the turnaround, probably a little bit regarding materials testing, but probably at the, because there's a little bit of credit, you're looking at about $6,000 for the turnaround.
Is that not going to be?
It's men's work. Yeah,
Okay, so we had already,
we've already approved the other parts of it.
yeah.
Yes.
Forget how I voted on that. This is not for, we're allowed to do a turnaround. This has no benefit to any of our residents. There's a big waste of money, I think. But, okay.
Oh, I agree.
Any further discussion from council? And we'll open it up for members of the public to speak if any wish to. Please go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm confused as to all the additional engineering. I'm always confused about a lot of the additional engineering, but I don't understand. Can someone just explain to me about what Men's doing on this project?
Men's doing the landscaping work for the end of Countrywide and the gabion wall for the turnaround. That's what they're doing on this project. And then the other work has to do with the Brody Lane water line. So we're sending
10 grand for the design on the end of a cul-de-sac?
That's for the irrigation plans, the gabion wall, and landscaping around that area.
I think it's the work as well, right?
Yeah, for the construction.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
well,
it-
I mean, it's not the actual like installation of plants and stuff like that. No, I mean, gabion walls are going to be much more expensive than that. This is for the design of everything and to do the irrigation plans for that area. To do that.
I'm just going, wow, because I just, I don't understand a lot of the engineering. I mean, I don't know, it just, wow.
And there is a credit built in, it's about $3,500, so the total cost that we're looking at is $6,500 or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, there's a credit built into that.
Okay. Councilmember Rosengard?
I know this was approved in Public Works Committee.
This task order?
Yeah.
No, the task order was not approved in the Public Works Committee.
The cul-de-sac turnaround was approved in Public
Yes,
Works.
the
Yes, that's
cul-de-sac,
correct.
I
yes,
was in
definitely.
that meeting. Okay.
That has
So
already been discussed.
staff added mend work,
That
the
is to-
landscaping and the irrigation.
Well, that is to address the concerns of the resident who is a Sunset Valley resident at the end of the road. Just
Please
to-
share with us. What are his concerns?
The cars and the lights and things like that. So this is the design to make sure we get a fence that is stable and will stay, as well as some landscaping just to kind of soften that area up a little bit.
And it's going to be on city property? Okay. And will we still have a trail access to the back sinkhole behind the property? In other words, is that beautifying city property that
Yes,
people
it
can
will
use and
beautify-
then go
it's
on a
gonna-
trail?
Definitely, it's gonna beautify city property, and part of that design for the turnaround would have like a curb cut to go into the trail over there. There is no trail to the sinkhole, unless you're, I mean, if you're thinking countrywide sinkhole, or you're
Yes.
thinking- Yeah, there's no actual, there's a trail that would lead you over to the Violet Crown Trail.
I'm trying to find a benefit for the city as to why we're doing this in front of someone's residential property. So if the benefit is to make it nice as we leave Countrywide and go behind the residential property,
Yeah, it's
Okay,
definitely
so
gonna
there's
have,
a benefit.
it'll improve that area a lot.
Someone could walk from the Violet Crown Trail, then, come up Countrywide Lane, the nice turnaround, and then walk up to, say, go to Slab.
So yeah, we would, there's actually a little trail over there, and that would be a really nice way for people to go on the Violet Crown Trail and go over to Slab.
good, okay? Residents may not approve of this, but if they start seeing a lot of people in Countrywide.
I've met with most of nearly every resident over on Countrywide, so they are very in favor of a turnaround.
Okay,
They are not residents of Sunset Valley, though. They are definitely super in favor of it, and even Joe Coyson is, I mean, he doesn't really have that much of a, but we like to take care of our residents, so even though we can do it, we want to make sure that it, doesn't kind of like harm the enjoyment of his own property, but,
Well-
I mean, you can't park down there because it's a turnaround for for fire reasons,
fire
right?
truck.
And so I guess you can't stop people from parking there to use any of the trails, and the residents on Countrywide make it very apparent they do not want anyone parking on that road, which I think is
Happens
a
all the
little
time.
special thing that they got going there. But,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, if we were gonna do the turnaround, and this is just, we're gonna make it nice for Mr. Coyson, and so I get it, but still, it's just.
Yeah, I think there is some city benefit if we have a trail access that looks nice, right? And that's something that we could improve there. Will the city be putting up like no parking signs along that cul-de-sac so that we don't?
Definitely, we can do that along the cul-de-sac, we can't do that on the street.
Right,
But
and I'm just,
The cul-de-sac we can.
yeah, we don't want this to become a place where people park and access, so, okay. And we'll see the amendment for that, for the design of the parking signs in the future. Further discussion on this item, Council? We do have a motion to approve this, that is active. All those in favor of approving the amendments to task order number 17, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Passes. All right. So council, the last item is one that we partially completed before our time certain, so agenda item number 17. What I'd like to do, as I mentioned, is reconvene into executive session with the city administrator, and that should conclude our business for the night. We will have one action that we will take after the meeting for executive session. So we can get another motion to move into executive session one more time.
Motion, we move into executive session.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are moving to executive session at 7:21, and we won't take any action in executive. Meeting into open session at 7:52, and I think we have one item before we conclude our business for the evening. The Mayor Pro Tem is going to read out.
In my own words, I move we authorize the mayor to amend the city administrator contract based on merit.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
Any discussion? My only discussion is, thank you, Matt, for your performance over the past year. Really appreciate the work you've done. And with that, is there, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All right, one more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned at 7:53 PM.